talking more about the sales process and federal appointments. This week, of course, we've had maybe some episodes talking about products and stuff like that, but we're going to get back to talking about the sales process. And whether you're talking with federal employees or you're not, all of this relates. It's like whether we're going to be sitting down with a federal employee or you're doing random virtual appointments with just anybody or you're sitting in person. I think the sales concepts still hold true. But we're going to continue to talk about the Megastar sales process that we teach here, and each advisor kind of makes it their own to some degree. But this is what we teach. This is what's working. This is what's helped us capitalize on helping as many people as we have this year. An incredible growth year for nearly all the advisors on board, as well as the new advisors that have come in. I mean, it's just been a fantastic year. But we got to continue to say and preach and talk about the sales process, and that brings us why we're talking today about the leave and earnings statement. It's a catchy title, but we're saying like why you don't need a leave and earnings statement, and you'd be like, oh well, Al, why the hell we just talked about 2 weeks ago all the different types of leave and earnings statements out there. I had Sean on when you were, I think it was out when you were out on your trip, when you were motorcycling, you were excursioning across the U.S.
Yeah.
We talked about like every different leave and earnings statement. You may have seen it already, but now we're talking about why you don't need it, and I think it's more about just you don't necessarily need it. Is more the point, and it's a conversation about first appointments. And
I would say why you don't need the leave and earnings statement from the employee.
Well, yeah, you need information that they can get from the leave and earnings statement, but you don't need it.
You don't need it, yeah.
You don't need it, so stop asking for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think, today we just want to talk about one of the most common issues we see out there is that people just rush into situations, forcing themselves into a position where they're making snap judgments or
hasty rationalizations.
Assumptions.
Yeah.
That I think most advisors watching the show are nearly certain are the right answer. They might be. But doesn't mean the prospect thinks it.
Yeah.
Right?
Again, when you've been doing this for 20 years, 15 years, 25 years, right? Like looking at a situation, being able to figure out what probably is the issue or where you could fix, right? It becomes second nature to see it, right? But that doesn't mean the person you're sitting down with who...
They don't have 30,000 experiences sitting down and helping people put together retirement plans. This is the first and only time they'll ever do it. Yeah. And you're assuming they understand all the things that you assume. Yeah. It's like, what a crazy thing to do. Yeah. If anybody in any other industry did that, you'd be madder than a hornet about it, right? It's like, let's see if we can get a good analogy. Well, we already do the doctor one, but sometimes that doesn't seem to hit home with people. Doctors making rash diagnoses. Maybe that's overplayed. Yeah. But let's assume a realtor. You go to a realtor, they talk to you for 2 seconds, and then automatically assume they know what you want and what price you're willing to, what you can afford just by looking at your car real quick while you pulled up and... they ask you, wait, what year's that car? Oh, that's a 2018. Oh, okay, you got some money. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you these 5 bedrooms, multi-million-dollar homes over here. Why don't we go look at a bunch of these? Like, you'd be mad, especially after like the first appointment. It's like, well, look, come on, man. I already have a realtor. I was just coming here to get, whatever free thing you were offering real quick. It happens all the freaking time. And I get, the feeling, and you see it in the home office. We're sitting on all kinds of appointments. Everybody's got appointments that basically now, if you've come into the program recently, you've basically had somebody sitting on your calls with you in the first few appointments. Yeah. You've seen us do it, or you've done it yourself. And then the people that are having issues that may have been in the program for a while, still not having the success they're looking for in the program, we've been sitting on those calls too. And what's the most common issue you see?
I think exactly what you're saying. People jumping way too far into either questioning or way too far into the sales process way too early.
How so? Give us an example.
Again, going into it, right? So we take the first appointment in a very short process, right? 10, 15 minutes, a get to know you appointment, get to understand what the issue is, what that client's actually looking for in a general sense, right? And on the last couple that I've sat on in the past day and a half, The two I can immediately think of, I was working on. The ladies are retiring. Two of them both are retiring end of year, right? We're getting to the end of the year. A lot of people want out. They're retiring in December and have no idea, no clue, can't even calculate, no concept of what their pension's going to be, right? I have no idea. Nobody's ever told them. Nobody's told them how to figure it out.
How long have they been with the government?
7 to 15 years between two of them. One of them 7. One of them was like just shy of 15 years, right? So 15 years, 7 years, even 5 years, right? And you have no idea what you're going to get back in 2 months, right? Not even 2 months. We're the middle of November right now, right?
Yeah.
So you had a month and a half and then you're done, right? And I have no idea what you're going to get come January. So like when you go into a person that's looking for that information to figure out like what monthly check they're going to get in January, and you're asking them what their husband's doing, what they do for work, how much money they have in a 401k if they have one, what kind of IRA you have, talking about the market performance, and going way above and beyond before this person who really just wants to know if she can pay her bills or how much she's going to have to pay bills in January, right? As well as we're kind of stating with this, right? Asking for documents before you even getting on the first call, right? People sending emails or doing confirmation calls and saying, hey, look, we're going to have a first call at Tuesday at 2:00. I need your leave and earnings statement. I need your TSP statement. I need social security statements. And then we can talk about everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no point to have those things in the first appointment.
No.
Right? Nor would anyone that...
Why was that person coming to that appointment?
To figure out their like federal benefits, to figure out
what was their first question?
Those two? We just picked Sue out.
Why'd they book the appointment?
So one of them, she'd already filled out her retirement paperwork and wanted to make sure she did it right.
Okay.
Which is nuts, right? Filled out her retirement paperwork. She was divorced. Really kind of at the odd situation. Her and her ex-husband.
Well,
still
but I mean,
right?
like that's what advisors do,
Yeah.
right? Or we see that mistake all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you came here for this, and you're asking me about what my husband does for work. What does that have to do with this? Right?
Yep.
That's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So anyway, it leads on.
So yeah, she had filled out her paperwork, wanted to know if she did it right. Did the FEGLI wrong. She dropped all her FEGLI coverage. She had a decent bit of FEGLI coverage and dropped it entirely. Didn't do any kind of reduction on it. So we talked about that and seen if we can fix that. And then again, her second question to did I fill my paperwork out right was what am I going to get now? Right. Second one, the exact same thing. She hadn't filled out her paperwork yet, but was going to and planning to get out in end of December, and was like, hey, look, I'm going to fill my paperwork out. Do you know what I'm going to get?
I mean, I'm shocked at how long some of these conversations go.
The first appointments?
Yeah. Because again, like we were saying before we came on this, you can't really be doing a great job of retirement planning unless you are getting to the nitty gritty. Like, so for instance, that person comes in the second they say, okay, yeah, I filled out my retirement paperwork. I'm looking to make sure I filled it out correctly. Okay, great. Do you have your retirement paperwork with you?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Let me bust it out. Okay. Like, look, before you filled it out, I mean, what all did you fill out on the retirement paperwork? Walk me through it. So you don't have to send it to me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So starting right there, you've got some retirement paperwork. You probably are willing to share that with me. I know that. Right off the top of my head. That's why you came here, right? I'm a federal retirement consultant. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deflect it away. Don't share it with me. You don't know me. Don't do that yet, right? What did you fill out? What forms did you fill out? Well, I filled out this one. I filled out this one. Okay, great. Did you get a benefit analysis done before you filled out your retirement paperwork? Because I imagine on the or on the retirement paperwork, they asked you what to fill out as far as a request for what you're going to do with your benefits, as far as your pension goes, what you're going to do with FEGLI, what you're going to do with all these other things. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you got your benefit analysis done, right?
What, from the government?
Yeah.
No.
Did you get it done anywhere else?
No.
Huh. Well, you understand. You got to get that done, right? Before you make any decision. Here's why.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, before they even answer that question, it's rhetorical. I'm not looking for an answer. Okay? I'm just looking to explain to them why they need this benefit analysis. You're talking about making selections that are typically one-time choices, right? With a few exceptions. Okay? You're not going to be able to undo these things without a huge amount of headaches. And quite frankly, the government has not really done a great job of even keeping you in the know about your benefits to this point. So good luck trying to undo your decisions, right? Okay. the benefit analysis is going to give you a good oversight as to what the issue is, right? Or like what you're going to get from your pension, what you're going to get from your FEGLI, what you're going to get from your TSP. And at that point, she's probably, I got rid of FEGLI. She's going to want to start chatting. Or I got rid of my FEGLI. I don't really care about the TSP. I just want to know what I'm going to do. I get it. That's fine. All I'm saying is that this report is going to give you a good idea of where you are right now so that you can make an educated decision on what you need to do, going down the line as far as, did you fill out the paperwork out correctly, right? I'm not here to go over your paperwork with you. I'm not here to do all that stuff. I'm just here to give you some good wisdom, right? Okay, well, look, a lot of whether you fill that paperwork out correctly, unless you're looking for like typos or misunderstandings, and we can go over that. But I don't really want to give you any advice on what to do on any of that paperwork unless you've got a good benefit analysis and we know where you are.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, until we run that, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, it's the exact same thing. How am I going to advise you on how to fill paperwork out, right? Because filling paperwork out means you're making decisions on what you're going to do in the future that you really generally can't change.
Yeah,
and there's no way I'm going to help advise you to make a decision when I don't know where you're at and you don't know where you're at.
Yeah. How long did it take us to have that quick conversation? 5 minutes?
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay, so we're 5 minutes in now. And so now I'm going to shift and be like, okay, well, look, we run a benefit analysis, doesn't cost you anything. Something we do as federal retirement consultants, basically just got to grab a few pieces of information. We'll run one for you so you can have that sheet. We'll go over it real quick, give you some parting wisdoms, and you go and make your decisions.
Yeah. And again, it's still the same fact, man. I was like, most of the time, I don't know, like there may be like a straggler piece of information, right? But it's like most of the time you're clearing 90% of the information through the phone call, right? Like those 10 minutes, right? Where you're talking about like, hey, look, I've got this question, like what's my pension going to be? Like those kind of like general questions. Like at least for me, when I've gone through it, it's like, there really hasn't been like I know obviously you have to clear a couple things up, right? And like give them the idea of like, hey, look, we're going to run a benefit analysis and clean up any questions you got at the end of it. But like, I think sometimes you can get stuck in doing like a large fact finder at the end of that, right? You get on kind of a tangent and then they start opening up more and it like leads you to doing that same thing, right? Well, I've got this life insurance, I've got this, my husband has this, my IRA, right? So it's like really key to not let the rabbit trail go off and get stuck on
and you see that when I'm on these appointments, right? It's like I nip that in the bud the second it comes up. Look, that's all good. I get it. You got other stuff and everything, but I'm just here to help you make good decisions on your benefits right here. Yeah. All that stuff will matter, but all that. Just obviously, I can't even do anything with this. I can't give you any sort of advice there. I get it. You got all kinds of problems or whatever, but let's get a good idea where your benefits are, and then we can decide what to give you as far as wisdoms on those types of things. If you have more questions when we're done with this, then sure.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the next appointment.
If I don't make that statement right there and I let them go on and I start asking questions and I go down this rabbit hole and I start making suggestions and I start attacking their advisor if they have one or trying to do X, Y, or Z, whatever the issues are, I've now ruined my credibility. Even if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I've ruined my credibility. They didn't come here for that. And now I'm here telling them that their advisor's bad, and you see that they get all standoffish in situations like that. They get all upset about things in that instance. That's not what you want.
Or they're real nice to you and take the phone call and listen to you as you go on the whole pitch of it, and then for some reason they don't show up at the second appointment, even though we had a great conversation, right?
But if you look at that, look at where we are though. Like in that instance, I've given them all kinds of advice. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about that. I'm giving suggestions. I'm talking about things that I don't even know because I don't even have their benefits figured out whatsoever. I'm no better than any other financial advisor that's approached them and didn't know the federal benefits.
Yep.
But if I'm going to really stand out, do something different, be a different type of advisor, I'm going to say, okay, look, that's all good. Let's not worry about that right now.
Yeah, we got a much larger issue before we can even tackle that problem, right?
You got issues. I get it. You got heartburn issues, whatever. That's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
Unless you're being irresponsible.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that. But benefit analysis is going to show that. If there's an issue in their planning, it's going to show it. But like a good doctor would. Or a good real estate agent. I'm going to do my research before I come back and say anything about anything else. Look, I'm here to help you with your federal retirement benefits. Those are all great issues. I hope your advisor helps you with those things. Like that's my motto. That's my idea. That's my mentality going into the first appointment. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to do anything with you. I don't want you. I need a new client like I need a headache.
Yeah.
I don't need you. I don't want you. I'm just here to answer that quick question you have.
Yep.
And all of 20 minutes, or less than that really, like 10 minutes nowadays. 10 minutes, I'm going to polish this puppy up, and you're going to be excited to talk to me tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? Because why? Okay, I get that. I'm just going to grab some quick pieces of information. Let's recap real quick. We had a quick conversation about what brought you here.
Yep.
I said, hey, look, that's going to depend upon, having your benefit analysis. Have you had that benefit analysis done? No. Okay, look, you got to get one of those done. This is what it does. And at least, if nothing else, we'll answer your question using that benefit analysis. But at the very least, or at the best case, you're going to walk away with some hard numbers that'll serve you well in making decisions down the road that I won't be a part of, is kind of the implication.
Yep.
You're going to walk away from this with some answers, and that's all well and good, and see you later. Right? I'm not going to pressure you into anything else. And I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know anything yet. And I'm going to run that analysis. And in the next appointment, when I come back to them on the analysis, I'm going to be like, I got questions to ask you, man.
Yeah.
This is what the analysis says. This is what you got with your pension. This is what you're doing with your FEGLI. This is what you're doing with your TSB. This is, I need you to explain some stuff to me. What do you think you're going to do with these different pensions? It's like, now that you know your options, what is it that you think you might do?
It's so hard to not use the doctor analogy as the reference to it, but it's such a similar process because, again, the same thing, right? Like 99.99% of the times, if you go to a doctor, right, like unless obviously you're directly bleeding and it's a very visible thing, right? It's always generally like they always have this like assumptive attitude that like everything's perfectly fine, there's no issues, and we're just gonna get you checked out real quick, and then you'll be right out the door, right? And then it's like, oh, that's broken, or you're gonna need a triple bypass surgery, right? It's like it's always this assumptive, at least in my experience with doctors and like my families that I've been a part of. It's always like, oh yeah, it'll be no problem. We'll do whatever we got to do. We'll take a look at it, and I'm sure it'd be fine.
But the analogy works because that's how we design the whole system.
Yeah.
That's how we design the marketing side of things. Is these people are their benefits are sick. A lot of people, like, they're sick with misinformation or non-information, undereducated in their benefits.
Yep.
And they need help with that.
Yep.
And so they're coming to get help with that sort of thing. And in some instances, there's no issues. And in some instances, there's lots of issues. I'd say in the majority, there are issues.
Yeah.
And everybody could be doing something to be a little bit healthier. Right? Everybody could be doing something to be a little bit. Does that mean everybody's going to write business with me? No.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have a good suggestion to make with darn near everyone.
Yeah.
Because, hey, look, there's lacking issues with this. If you really want to if you're serious about fixing your life, your financial life, this is what I'm suggesting. And if you're looking for that suggestion to be executed, or you want to do some more research on treatment options for this ailment that you have, or lack of information, or lack of life insurance, or lack of risk tolerance, or lack of safety in your investment strategy, whatever it is, my office would be happy to help you with that sort of thing.
Yep.
Not forcing you to do it, but we'd be happy to. Here's what that looks like. And outlaying that is great. But again, the first appointment, I'm just keeping it simple. As simple as possible. I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about what your desires are. I don't know that you carry too much life insurance. I could tell by the code. Sure, when the code's there. Yeah, you don't have enough life insurance, but I don't know if they have other life insurance policies.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not going to ask them yet because it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Because that's not why they're here. But once I get their benefit analysis back, and I sit down with them and I say, okay, let's go through this real quick. This is what this is. This is what this is. This is what this is. You want some, have you made any decisions on any of this stuff? Does this make sense to you? Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm going to do that. You want some advice? You looking for some help on this sort of thing? Yeah, I just don't know yet. It's like, okay, well then let me explain some concepts to you real quick, just before we go. Boom, boom, boom. Your guy doesn't talk to you about this stuff? No, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we got this stuff. We were dealing with an advisor the other day. I will say, I'm not going to say the names of these, but you know who I'm talking about. I was talking with an advisor, and the advisor was worried that his work was going to go to his hard work and explanations of retirement planning benefits from appointment 2, not appointment 1, appointment 2. We're going to go to a financial planner that this federal employee had been working with for a long time.
Yep.
And he had just explained in 2 appointments more than the guy had ever learned about his 20, 30-year career as a federal employee. And the guy followed the process to a T. And he was like, dude, I'm just so worried that he's just going to give everything away. And so I started coming at him and said, I'm not going to give you this information to just pass on. I said, look, that's not how you handle that. Right? And then this was wisdom given to me by another one of our advisors. And he says, look, I'm happy. Typically, I don't like when folks take our work and just give them over to some other guy to use in his analysis or whatever, but I'm happy for you take this stuff. You know, I want to help every federal employee out there possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to take this information. I want you to explain everything that I just explained to you. And if or when he comes back and says, hey, look, yeah, we can absolutely help you with this sort of thing. No problem. This is something that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to respond to him with one question.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't you done this yet?
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you do this yet? Why are you just knowing this now? Right? And that's a problem because you've been with this person for 30 years, getting advice from this person for 30 years or 15 years in that case, I want to say 15 years. And he not once addressed the fact that you're a federal employee. Are you going to have these guaranteed income sources coming to you? And that might change your investment strategy, long-term, short-term, in the intermediate, whatever it might be.
Has another TSP hasn't been managing, so you've got assets growing there, right?
Hasn't talked to you about your allocation strategy within your TSP or the funds there or anything like that.
And of course you can do it, right? It doesn't take a rocket science to do it, but it's a matter of fact that
you're one of his clients and he didn't take the time to learn it. And by the time, this is what the same kind of advice the advisor had told me, it was like, by the time they're asking that question, like they just spent, you know, however many minutes it takes them to explain to the advisor or their current 15-year advisor what they learned from me, this federal retirement consultant they sat down with last week. They're already fuming at the fact the guy that has either didn't understand it or is nodding along. Because if he's nodding along and being like, yep, I knew that. Oh, I knew that. They're fuming because like you never talked to me about this in 15 years.
It's a catch-22, right? Either, I guess not catch-22, whatever, double-edged sword if you want to call it that, right? Because one situation, the guy doesn't know it, right? And client goes back to the advisor and talks to him about it and says, hey, look, this is how my pension works. Did you know that? This is how this works. Can you answer this question, right? And the advisor doesn't know it. Good for you, right? You know he doesn't know it. Or two, exactly that, right? He does know it and actually happens to know federal benefits or can walk his way through it, right? And exactly that, right? Like I've been
both
with you for 15 years.
Both instances are bad for that advisor, though. It's like you don't know it. Well, then that's a big issue.
Absolutely.
And again, it's like you don't want to knock the guy for being an advisor for somebody. It's like, look, this guy's been with you for 15 years and he's done a good job. But the truth of the matter is the accumulation phase of your life is a lot less tricky. It's trickier from a perspective that you're really trying to pick the winners out there and really grow as much as you possibly can. That's the tricky side of it. But a lot of these guys just throw it into managers, and the asset managers are the ones that are actually doing all the hard stuff, right? So there's not a lot of risk involved for the advisor as far as putting a plan together for accumulation. It's just like, let's get as aggressive as we possibly can, and as we approach retirement, let's get a little less risky. From a retirement planning perspective, you need to know a lot more. It's not just about the assets and how to keep them growing. That's part of it, for sure. But the other part of it is knowing how every other thing of their financial life is going to integrate into their retirement plan. How much income do we need? Do we need to sell this house? Do we need to understand do we need this life insurance policy? Do we need to get long-term care? What about those premiums? Are those premiums going to force me to a situation where I need more guaranteed income because I need to continue to pay those premiums just in case I have a long-term care need? What are my health issues? What about health care? What about Medicare? What about estate planning needs? What about all those things? That's what an retirement planning needs. And we doom ourselves as retirement planners to just being like this one thing. We are only concerned with TSP rollovers. I just want to roll over a TSP, or I just want to roll over their past employer 401k. I just want to deal with this qualified asset or that qualified asset. I'm going to roll that over and that'll be it. And I'll never see it again. It's like, that's not what you do as a retirement planner. If you're a real retirement planner, you're doing everything. Which again, if you're a real retirement planner, you're not jumping to conclusions. Maybe TSP is right for them. It's like, what if I'm a prospect that's like, you know, I really like safety and I really like government securities. And I want really safe growth with the government securities, and that's all I want.
I want to take money out once a quarter.
I want to take money out once a quarter. I've got my monies right here. It's like, what are you going to suggest other than that? Why are you jumping to conclusions that you should be managing this asset better than TSP should? Right? Maybe you're not right. But maybe they've got, I don't know. There's just so many different variables. And you're talking about just jumping to, what if the spouse does X, Y, and Z? And I know the advisor on there is going to be like, well, that's why I'm asking the questions in the first appointment. It's like, but that's not why they're here. They don't want retirement planning help. That's not why they came generally. Sometimes, every once in a while, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And even in that instance, what does it matter pushing it to a second appointment real quick before we have a conversation? Like, well, before we get into retirement planning, let's at least know where we are right now. Yeah. I know it's an echo chamber. You believe all this stuff, but it's
I know. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, man.
And that's the number one mistake. We're going to keep saying it over and over and over again. Same mistake over and over and over again. I started talking about stuff that I didn't need to be talking about on the first appointment.
I still see it all over the place. I get a fact finder back, and there's stuff that should not be on there.
Well, they were willing to tell me. They started the conversation.
Perfectly fine. Again, I had called the other day. This lady, we wrapped up the, I guess, general conversation about like the benefits and stuff, and we started talking about the TSP. Just real quick, quick conversation about what she had and stuff like that. And I was about to wrap up the phone call. I was like, hey, do you have any other questions? She's like, yeah, actually, I talked to one of my coworkers, and she retired real recently. And she said that I need to move my funds out of the TSP and put it into something like an IRA. And I was like, ma'am, that very well could be what you should do. It could also be a poor decision for you until you get this report run. I can't give you any kind of advice or inclination on that. Right? And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Oh, man.
So we get through to the second phone call. And of course, naturally, we run through the rest of the appointment. We run through the rest of her federal benefits. And she's going to move over the TSP into an IRA because it's a good decision for her.
That's exactly right.
Right?
But that's why. You answer that question as in, well, I don't, other than what you said. If you say, yeah, in a lot of cases, that's the truth. That's the truth. You know, like here's the different things that we need to do. Or you say, well, she was right. Yep, she's right. Or no, I don't know. No, maybe it's not right. Whatever you do, you address that answer. Those are both wrong. Definitive answers in that situation are wrong
Either
answers.
way, positive or negative.
Positive or negative. Affirmation or a declaration of doubt on that is not right. The right answer is we don't know. That's why we're running an analysis, right? Well, look, that could have been very well the best situation for her. But you know, every person's a little bit different. I'm sure
hopefully she sat down with somebody like me and was able to talk to the rest of her benefits, and that was the right decision. But for you, we can't make any kind of call on this until we know exactly where everything is. Right?
That's the right way, and you understand that, right?
Right.
And,
who wouldn't?
And they're like, "Boop, yep, I'm ready." That's it. That's the right answer. It's like the answer on a test. It's like it's not what's the right answer. Right answer could have been any of those. It's what's the most right. Most right answer there is I don't know. I don't know yet. And not because I don't know, but because your situation is going to be different. Like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, it's not that you know that's going to make you successful. Knowing federal benefits isn't going to know. It's going to help you be better at this. I think a lot of our advisors are know the benefits.
Pretty knowledgeable,
or know them enough. And for that matter, private sector closings too. It's not that you know how Social Security works, how taxes work, something like that. It's that you know, right? I'm for certain positive that you're wrong about this.
Yeah.
So if you cast any shadow of doubt, I'm going to be able to say, oh, good point. Here's where you're missing it.
Yeah.
Right? Versus you asked me, someone was like, well, I heard the unreduced annuity option is the best option no matter what. So, yeah, that could be. Yeah. But here's why it could not be.
Yeah.
Right? The unreduced annuity option is going to give you the max amount, but did you know there's all kinds of factors at play? You could be losing your health insurance if you don't do that for your spouse. So you could potentially be leaving your spouse in a situation where they have no guaranteed income down the road. You could potentially be putting yourself in a situation where you're paying double 2 life insurance policies essentially. There's all kinds of mistakes that
you could take your pension for a month and then pass away and lose everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's all kinds of things. So yeah, the unreduced annuity option could be right, but it could be wrong. See what I'm saying? That's knowing that I know versus a lot of times it is. Yeah, a lot of times it is the right answer. Yeah. No, that's not that's not knowing that you know. That's you know the benefits, right? And you know that pays the most out. But knowing that you know is affirmation and explanation. Affirmation and explanation. We throw that on the screen. Well, that's good. Affirmation and explanation. You like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yep, you're right. And here's why you're right. right? Because they probably don't know why they're right. They just heard it at the cooler,
Mm-hmm.
water cooler, right?
Again, all gratifying the fact that this stuff is complicated, right? There's a lot of nuances to it. That's why we're sitting down. You're right to come and talk to us, right? And that's why we need to run this benefit analysis, because there's a lot of moving pieces in this. And again, why I'm not answering those questions for you.
You're almost just looking for a reason, like that's an affirmation why we got to do this, right?
Yep.
That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to be willing to, again, in other instances, you're not going to know all the answers. And when you don't know an answer, you better have a darn good reason why you don't know the answer.
Yep.
Or why anybody couldn't know the answer.
Yep.
Right? Because that's where it's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, I have this question about my military benefits, and I bought them back, but I'm not seeing it in my SCD reflected yet.
Mm-hmm.
My service computation date sounds like a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer. I can't give a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Answering it with, I don't know, but I have a whole team that I can get with, and we'll get with that team, and we'll get back with you on an answer is not expert level.
No.
That's not answering the right way. Answering it the right way is something like, listen, military benefits can be tricky. Okay. And a lot of times, situations call for military benefits to immediately be applied to your service computation date. And sometimes there's lagging reasons behind it. Okay. It could be anything from you not making all of your installment payments as quickly as possible, or it could be as making installment payments too long ago and they just didn't update your SF50 too quickly enough. There are a number of different reasons why military benefits couldn't work or couldn't fall into your SCD just yet, or maybe they've left your SCD and they're not telling you what your retire SCD is, but they contributed those military time to this other thing, or maybe you didn't fill out the paperwork right. Could be as simple as that. But we got to get to the bottom of that, and here's how we get to the bottom of that. We're going to do it this way, and this way. It's like, that's not exactly right, but that sounds way better.
You're an expert that's been here before and done this before and has given me a reason why it could be wrong.
5 different reasons why it doesn't work.
Yeah. And even as simple as like, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've had a lot of people buy back their military time. And for some goofy reason, because departments don't like to talk to each other, sometimes OPM will miss that. They'll miss the paperwork and they just won't update your SCD. What we're going to have to do, an option to that is, let's call HR. Let's figure out, make sure they got the paperwork right. Again, we could have filled something wrong. We could have done it improperly. Maybe they didn't get the DD-214 proper. There's a whole bunch of reasons why this happens. I've seen it a bunch before. We'll get it figured out for you. We'll get it patched up.
And so once we talk to HR, we get those numbers back and we figure out if this SCD is right. That way we can take those numbers, put together a benefit analysis, walk away with a good explanation on where you are right now. We can give you some parting wisdoms on what to do with the benefits down the road. And at least you'll have that going into retirement, so you're not making a totally uneducated decision.
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. Does that sound like I'm going to make them a sale or do any retirement planning for them? No. And I have no intention of doing that yet. Not unless I find an issue out. And if I find an issue, then I'm going to talk to you about it. Or at least going to get an understanding of what you plan to do to solve the issue. That was another thing. The second appointment is like, people go in and they're like, and we'll talk about second appointment in another episode, but in second appointments, people just going in and just starting making suggestions on things without really understanding why it is that they move this money from TSP over to this, or move TSP to that. For instance, I had somebody that was like, oh yeah, he only had 50,000 in his TSP. He'd been working for 30 years. I knew that he had moved some money somewhere else. So I asked him, I said, look, you had to have had some assets. Did you move it somewhere else? He says, it's in a Charles Schwab managed account. He's like, oh, well, he's like, I think it was a done deal there. Like, the guy's managing his own assets. And he was taking offense to the fact that I was saying that he should move it somewhere else. Like, he was incapable of doing it. It's like, well, yeah, because you're telling him that. You're not asking him what his solve for. It's like, have you run scenarios? Like, have you stressed it? Like, for instance, I was like, well, okay. In that instance, let's run into it just for a second. You've got 50,000 in your TSP. I'm not going to say, hey, I know, because I'm smart and I've done this for so long. I know you've moved money outside, because there's no way somebody making 6 figures like you are, working 30 years, only has 50,000 in his TSP. I know you've moved something. Tell me where it is. No.
Sometimes the tonality is like that. And you're like,
tell me where
my
it is. No, that's what it feels like. Sometimes there's no flow to it. It doesn't feel good. Be like, okay, look, all right, so here's what your pensions looks like. This is what your Fegly's going to do. This is what you're doing. You're talking to me about, what are you going to do with Fegly? Nah, I'm not going to do anything. I'm getting rid of it. Okay. What are you going to do with your pension? Well, I'm going to try and take the max survivor. Okay. All right. I kind of I'm a little stunned by that.
Mhm.
Right? You're talking about getting rid of your pension, getting rid or getting rid of all spousal continual benefits for your spouse, getting rid of all the safety nets involved. And I don't understand. Do you have other assets that you're going to live on? Because I'm only seeing 50,000 in TSP, so I really wouldn't advise doing that just yet. I'd probably keep the FEGLI and potentially even take a Max Survivor on top of it. Like, who knows? Or get more life insurance. Who knows? No, man, no. I've got more than 50,000. Thank goodness. Okay, good.
Yeah.
What are you doing with it? Right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've got 500,000 that I manage over in this. Like a Charles Schwab. Oh, okay. Like, have you? I mean, you protecting those assets? Are you doing? It's like, well, I'm doing well. I've been the market's been doing well. I've been managing. It's like we've been doing really, really well.
I've been doing great, right?
Doing
I got
really
35% this year, right?
And I was like, all right. And I was telling the advisor this. I said, here's where my questions would have probably deviated from yours. Say, okay, when did you start managing that money?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay, so you've pretty much only been managing in like a bull market.
Yeah. It was 2018, but yeah.
2020, 2018. Okay, what was the dip just at the end of the year and then bounced right back?
Yeah.
Okay, what, December you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And then coronavirus was 1 month.
Yeah.
Followed by like a very volatile month.
Yeah.
Okay, but you've done some like stress testing, some Monte Carlo scenarios and stuff like that about like playing back into 2008 and stuff like that?
What?
No. I mean like stress testing those things. You're just making sure that you're testing them to make sure that if you had a down market, your investment strategy during that time would do well.
What do you mean?
Look, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that anybody that's going to manage their account, let's just talk about retirement planning just in general, just for a second. If you're going to self-manage, which is awesome. It's good. It's good that you're doing that. But if we're talking about getting rid of our safety nets here, we got to make sure that we're setting up our investment strategy to do a few things, not just be 100% for bull market scenarios, right? Ride those. It's like if we're going to get rid of our safety nets, we need to have assets that are allocated to do well during good times. Yeah. We need to have assets that are going to do well during bad times, and we need to have assets that are going to do well during volatile times, right? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And right now, it seems like you're only testing
for
this for growth. Yeah. You've got assets that are doing well in a good time, right? But do you have any assets that aren't doing great right now? I mean, is it a question? He'll have some answer for that. Right. It's like, okay, and what do you have? It's like if he doesn't have annuities, in my opinion, if you don't have annuities in that scenario, something to protect against downside risk to some degree during that period, or now I'm saying all of that money, just a chunk that will do well during a volatile market. That's where the annuity stands in.
I've run a lot of reports over the years, and it probably is from being in a bull market for so long. I've seen a lot of Kreft and Schwab accounts. Very rarely do I see anybody self-managing their own account, doing any kind of actual like strategic asset allocation, right? Like the most like balanced anybody ever is some kind of like
Tesla,
a life cycle fund.
Yeah, and I got this thing, and then I got an index
Everything's
fund.
blowing the roof off everything. Your blue chip stocks are doing 30%, right? So it's like, hey, you're 100% right? It's like a lot of people haven't prepared for any kind of an actual downturn recession, right?
But what we're talking about here isn't about good accumulation investing, which it sounds like you're good at.
Yeah.
It's about planning for 20, 30 years. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're just going to pivot to things, right? Like that's what you're going to do. You're going to time the market.
Yep.
And you're a good investor. Yep. What do they say about timing the market?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yeah. Right? That's what they say. Don't time the market. Don't try and do it. Don't try and do it. The best money managers in the world will tell you don't try and time the market. Don't try. You're hedging your bets. You're hedging your bets. You're hedging your bets. You're hedging your bets. It's like a great game of craps. Yeah. You've got all these bets on the table and you're just hoping for no sevens.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the sevens are the freaking annuity protection. It's like just the downside risk. It's like, okay, well, there's a down market. I'm going to take a free withdrawal from an annuity that's protected completely from downside risk. Not worried about taking a loss on that withdrawal during that time period because what's changing is the same thing we talk about all the time in the retirement space. What's changing is you're not taking money out now and you're going to be during this time period. Call it income need or RMDs, whatever you want to say. Eventually, you're going to have to start taking income from these sources, and where you get that RMD or whatever is going to depend upon how you've strategically made it. So you're going to have to take that RMD. Would you rather take it from a pot of money that's losing, a pot of money that's not losing, or a pot of money that's doing really well? Obviously, you want to take it from the one that's doing really well, whatever, right? But what if none of them are doing really well?
You're just
least
coming
a
out of
one.
a 30 to 40 year growth year, right? I'm not going to predict a downturn, but look, man, like you should have some
But I was asking the
moderation,
advisor.
right?
I was asking-
And this is still all in appointment 2 and 3, and we're now into just like this whole video. I feel like is a great symbolism of the problem with a lot of these calls. Is we're doing a call about a first appointment process, and now we're into step 3. And right,
Well,
we've walked
I'm-
away
yeah,
here,
I guess,
right?
I guess that's a good point, Rick.
Right.
That's a fair point.
It's very easy to run off.
I'm trying to make a distinction of things that happen in second appointment.
Agreed.
That's a
Yeah.
second appointment
That's
conversation.
what I'm saying.
First appointment was only getting them to want the benefit analysis. That's it. 10 minutes,
Yep.
15 minutes.
Yep.
I'm not going to have a detailed conversation asking you about your
Absolutely
whys.
not.
Those whys are all in the second appointment.
When you've earned the right of a relationship to talk about those things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You built a relationship with them by that point, at least more so than the first 10 minutes you're on the phone, right? And even if you're on the phone for an hour in the first appointment, it doesn't mean you've built enough relationship with them to start going to those things, right? If anything, you're more of
2
a
hours,
nuisance,
3 hours,
dude.
4 hours. Doesn't matter.
Uh,
It's not enough time for you to warrant getting their benefit analyses or getting their leave earnings statement and social security statements and all these documents that everybody wants. Don't ask for them. Get your questions answered over the phone in that 10-minute frame and push them to an appointment at the same time the next day.
the next day, I was just going to mention that.
The next
Works
day.
phenomenally. We do 11 o'clock today. We're doing 11 o'clock tomorrow. I've had a single problem with that. Nobody's got any issue with that. It's easy. It's fresh. We're going to get it
ask
done,
us,
right?
How many people do you get from first to second appointments? 100% of them.
All of them.
Never once have I had one person say, nah, I don't want that thing.
Yeah.
And I've never once had somebody ghost me on the second appointment,
Yeah.
not show up for their benefit analysis. Not once.
Yeah.
They want it. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they? It's free. There's no, and again, it's not saying like, hey, we need an hour tomorrow at 11.
Yeah.
No, it's like, look, I'm not expecting any issues.
Yeah.
So if I'm not expecting any issues as a doctor, I think I'm just going to
explaining
call
the
you to
support
say,
to you.
hey, there was no issues with your testing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, that's what I'm expecting the next call to be. Hey, look, we'll hop on the call tomorrow, 5-10 minutes. We'll run through the report. We'll
Yep.
send you on your way just with some parting wisdoms, blah, blah, blah. That's
Yep.
it. It's over.
That's it.
Done. And nobody's going to have an issue with that. Okay, yeah, I can squeeze 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
And then it's about making that meeting longer.
Yeah.
Say, look,
Then you get the X-ray and realize there's broken stuff in it, and
there's
then
broken
it's
stuff. We got
discussing
to
it
have a
with them
discussion
properly.
with you real quick.
Yeah.
You have more time for me, or should we push this out a little bit more? Because this is troubling.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I know, it's crazy. I didn't think so either.
It's too funny, man. Anyway, if you want more information about how the appointment's working or the appointment process is working, or you're just looking for more opportunities out there, there's no better place for that than here at Megastar Advisors. There's all kinds of great stuff going on. We're generating tons of opportunities for advisors. If you're having questions about how to work virtual appointments
Yeah.
in general, virtual is not a problem. Don't let people lie to you. It's just a bad process, a flawed process. We'll show you how to work it, and if you don't believe it, we'll hop on the call with you. We'll show you how to write business from your home in your underpants if you so choose. That's
Absolutely.
not my preferred method, but for some it sounds like it might be. But yeah, we'll walk you through whatever it is. But the process works, folks. We're not telling you this because it doesn't work. We are trying to preach this loud and proud because it has worked well for so many across the board. People are having record years because of it, and proof's in the pudding. We're not asking you to take us at our word. Let us show you that it works. Let us help you be successful in these. And if you want to learn more about how the program works, you just let us know. Rick and I are here to answer your calls.
Yeah.
Questions, and I believe it's probably not the right time to make an announcement, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. We are going to
cuff.
be doing live webinars, conversations. Rick, myself, a couple others on the sales team, and talking live, answering advisors' questions on a webinar about these every Monday. So if you're in the program, you're working these leads, and you are having any issues, or you just want an idea share, or you want to be a guest speaker, you might get approached by us. We're going to be doing those on Mondays going forward. We're going to be having some fun, start the week off with a webinar type thing, probably in the afternoon on a Monday. Usually fits my schedule a little bit better. But that'll try to be a regular thing for us going forward.
It'll be fun.
Just so we can help people better understand how to work these and answer your questions. It's engaging. We will be answering the chat questions. We will be working on a whiteboard. We will be working on our main webinar stage. If you have not seen that, it is a certainly different webinar than you're used to. So anyway, that's all for the announcements. Rick, thanks so much for being
Always
on
pleasure.
here. We'll be doing another one of these to talk a little bit more about second appointments and third appointments, how to close. And anyway, thank you everybody for taking another look at Coffee for Closers. We'll see you right here next time.
conclude.
Split the night, 'cause he